One more moment. Great, you're all set. Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Seth.
Good evening, everybody. We are opening up our planning board meeting. It is, the general public is here, plus we have some attendance by Zoom. I'm going to open up the meeting now. Anyone want to second it?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Our first meeting is a continued public hearing meeting, major site plan development review and stormwater permit, Stearns Meadow Water Treatment Plant at 453 Cushing, Chief Justice Cushing Highway, Assessor's Map, Lot 47-2-26-J. The applicant owner is the town of Scituate, DPW, town of Scituate. This is a public meeting, and I'm going to start with, can you please give your name and
Yes, good evening. My name is Steve Robbins, Senior Technical Manager with Reardon Kern. It's our pleasure to join you again tonight. Give you an update on our response to the planning board and third-party consultant review of the submittal here for the new Stearns Meadow water treatment plant. We have a short PowerPoint prepared that I would be happy to walk through and then certainly discuss comments that the board and the public have. Okay, make this work. There we go. I will go through a little bit of project background. Nothing new changed in the major site features. We'll review project objectives, provide a site overview, and kind of where we are in the process, and then walk through the responses to the comments that are included in our October resubmittal to the planning board, followed of course by Q&A and public comment. As a matter of background, the new water treatment plant was identified as part of the water system master plan back in 2021. The town of Scituate Water Department serves approximately just fewer than 8,000 service connections and for a population of about 19,000 people. About 1.5 million gallons per day is the average day demand from the water system here in the town of Scituate. The current Old Oaken bucket treatment plant does not provide adequate treatment for the manganese in that water source and lacks key redundancy and resiliency features. And so Reardon Kern was selected to work with the town for the design of a new water treatment plant at the Stearns Meadow site. That site was approved at the September 2022 special town meeting. The project objectives, the average flow for this source, and again, the town has multiple water sources, both surface water and groundwater sources. The surface water source is permitted a withdrawal of 0.79 million gallons per day. And the treatment plant is being designed for a peak capacity of 3 million gallons per day on a 24-hour basis. We're designing to meet appropriate water quality standards as required by the town, the state, and federal government, and have the ability to incorporate future PFAS treatment at this facility as well, should that be needed. Here's the site layout. This is Route 3A is running along the bottom of this figure. No significant changes. A couple of stormwater related tweaks, but no changes to circulation or anything since the last version that the town has seen. In general, we made our initial submittal to the planning board back in early August. We received the first round of comments from Horsey Witten Group in early September. Of that, 8 of the comments were on the site plan and 31 comments were on stormwater related issues. We had our first planning board hearing here with you all at your September meeting. We then resubmitted the package for review in early October, and we received an updated comment letter from Horsey Witten Group just last week or so. Of those open comments, Horsey Witten noted that of the site plan comments, 5 were addressed and 3 sought some additional information. And of the 31 stormwater comments, 27 have been addressed and 4 comments just require some additional information. We're here all with you here at your October meeting. As an overview of the building, about 35,000 square feet, in three general areas. We have the treatment process area, we have operations functions, and we have a 5-bay storage garage. We have for the building applied for a special permit with the ZBA that was filed on October 19th. While we meet the town requirements for the average building height of 35 feet, we do exceed the maximum building height of 40 feet in two main locations. The two cross gables, just to provide a pitched roof over the size area building that we have, we do exceed 40 feet. So we have applied for that special permit for the ZBA. And we'll be before them in their November. The septic system currently being reviewed by the Board of Health. I think we just saw comments from them yesterday or this morning came in. So we'll be working on addressing those comments. The septic system receives sanitary flow only from the treatment plant. It does not receive any of the processed water or laboratory water. All of that is held in a holding tank on site, which will be periodically pumped out for offsite disposal. It wouldn't be appropriate to send that water to the septic system. That's really just sanitary flow from the bathrooms, showers. On the stormwater, we've made model and stormwater model and some site plan updates. The routing and inputs have been refined based on comments from Horst and Witten and incorporated into our updated response. The basins were updated to account for field measurements of infiltration. There was a comment that was made here last time. You guys are so close. Can we get there? And we were able to get there with some additional site testing. So we have volume control for all storm events. And provide additional model details as the peer reviewer requested so that you can understand the design intent and confirm stormwater design. There was also a comment at our last discussion about construction phase stormwater, how we're going to manage this site while it's open and activities are ongoing on site, including dewatering operations. In our resubmittal, we did provide some additional detail there. And essentially incorporating an approach that has both temporary perimeter controls for stormwater, measures for surface stabilization in areas that are not being currently disturbed during construction, and areas where sediment can be stored on site. We do have a temporary stormwater basin that's provided 33,000 cubic feet of storage during that stormwater event. And the Massachusetts general permit does require monitoring for dewatering discharge to confirm that water is being treated on site for appropriate levels of sediment so that we don't have a plume of anything leaving the site. Certainly the town of Scituate and we are invested in the success of that, given that the downstream water body is the town's reservoir. So certainly want to have a tight control of the site during construction. There was discussion during our last meeting about the lighting plan and the lighting pole heights. We reviewed the lighting plan and the fixture selection, and we were able to accommodate adequate lighting with 20-foot poles instead of 30-foot. All of our lighting fixtures are dark sky compliant, and again, we were able to do that without adding any additional poles on site. We made some adjustments to the landscape plan. Karen and we have been in contact about that. I expect we'll continue to have some tweaks to this plan, but we are intending some additional evergreen planting to the western side of the site. We are finalizing the tree survey for the interior portion of the site as well, and we'll provide that information to the town as soon as it's available. But we are working to be responsive to providing additional screening plantings along that western edge. We have been working to maintain as much of the existing native vegetation on that western side, recognizing that some additional screening would be appropriate and desirable to those residents that's incorporated into this plan. And as well on the northern part of the site as well, on the back side of the septic system, the north side. Parking was an additional topic of discussion at the last meeting. There are no changes to the proposed parking layout, but I wanted to bring it up here again for the board's information and public information as to what's being provided. The staff in the water department that would report to this site has 15 total staff. Not all of them are on site at any given time, typically 10 to 14 are on site, given the nature of shift work and 7-day per week operations. That includes 4 water treatment operators. They again would be focused on the treatment side of the building, distribution crew members who would arrive, pick up their equipment, the appropriate vehicle, and depart the site, typically for work out in the distribution system, 2 administrative personnel, and 1 superintendent. Public visitation at the site is anticipated to be minimal, but we have provided 3 parking spaces for either members of the public that need to meet with someone here at the water department, equipment vendors, or other folks that need to come and meet with water department staff. So we have a total of 19 parking spaces proposed on the site. 18 of them, one of those 19 is ADA compliant and on the upper portion of the site. 8 parking spaces for the distribution crew members on the lower portion of the site near the garage. And 10 in the front parking area, which would be for water treatment operators, the administrative personnel, and any visitors.
May I ask?
Please.
Thank you. There's a gate as you go in, so that is off limits unless you have code. Where is the cemetery in relationship to what you're doing? Where can people?
You're able to see the cursor on the sorry, for members of the public, I'll turn around here as well. The main entrance to the site is on the northern entry. Here are the publicly accessible parking areas. There is an access control gate here.
Right.
There's a walking path to the cemetery is provided here. So
Okay.
that location is in this spot. So distribution staff and others, operators that need access to the rear of the building or the garage would enter through the northern portion of the site, circulate around the rear of the building to this parking area, and then exit the site this direction.
And so whoever is going to the cemetery would have absolutely positively no access to the treatment plant.
That's
There would
correct.
be a fence.
That's correct.
Thank you.
The secure area for the vulnerability assessment is defined by the front face of the building and this gate, and there is a fence that wraps around the building as well for security purposes.
Thank you.
For this side, sorry, because you were looking at my back, the gate was here, parking and pathway access in this direction. We have reviewed the vehicle circulation around the building with the fire department to confirm that they have the ability to access and the appropriate turning radii for their vehicles to circulate the building as well. That summarizes the changes in our latest submittal to the planning board. We can be more than happy to answer any questions from the board, professional staff, or the public.
Start with Karen.
Karen?
Do you want to start with Janet, our peer
Run
review
Janet.
engineer? She's online.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think.
Hi, again, my name is Janet Bernardo. I'm the professional engineer with the Horsley Witten Group, and we provided the peer review for this project. As stated by the applicant, we had originally provided a letter, and then there was the applicant provided a response dated October 6th, and we provided a second letter on October 18th. In that letter, there's just a few, many of the items were adequately addressed. There's a few items that the planning board may want to note for considering as special conditions moving forward, or information that you may just still need from the applicant. As he noted, they're going to the zoning board of appeals for a special permit for the roof height. So that may be something, you know, the planning board may want to wait for ZBA before you make a determination. The tree survey is supposed to be in progress. I don't know that I heard on the on the applicant's presentation, if that had been done yet?
A portion has been completed and there's another portion that is ongoing.
So that's something that the planning board may be waiting for. The fire department is satisfied. The Board of Health still needs to provide their letter of approval for this project. I understand that there was a bunch of items that will need to be addressed. The applicant understands that an approval from Mass DOT for the curb cut is required, so that's something that the planning board may want to receive the receipt of that permit. The biggest item that we talked about last time, I think, was the exfiltration of the largest detention basin. They have revised that. They went out and did another test hole to confirm they had adequate separation to groundwater, as well as percolation permeability rate that was adequate. So we are pleased to see that they are maintaining and reducing the peak volume as well as the peak flow rate coming off the site for stormwater in compliance with the regulations. So that was kind of one of the bigger items there. That they were able to address. There was a minor clerical error on sheet C403 that I believe they'll be able to address without any real difficulty. Then there was a couple of other there. So the applicant will, prior to construction, they will need to provide prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan in accordance with the EPA NIPD's permit. And so the planning board may want to receive a copy of that when it's done 14 days prior to construction. They will need to complete that by, as well as receipt of the standalone operation and maintenance plan that the town, the water department will be required to utilize moving forward indefinitely for the stormwater practices as well as general upkeep of the facility. So it'll be good to have the record of that everybody should understand, particularly the town that will be maintaining it knows exactly what needs to be done, what the different stormwater features are, where they're located, and how they are to be maintaining those in the future. And as well as receipt of the illicit discharge statement signed by the property owner, which is basically just so that it's very obvious to everybody that they will not be discharging anything that's not just stormwater runoff into any of the stormwater facilities. So, but they did respond adequately to all of our various statements, and we were satisfied.
You said they did respond adequately. Is that what
They
you said?
did, yes. Everything, you know, they need, there's those few things that need to be provided to the planning board, approvals of various agencies and whatnot. They really had only one small clerical error, that as well as, you know, providing the tree survey and whatnot, but we were satisfied with their responses on the majority of those items.
Okay, comments from the board.
Karen.
Sorry.
All right, so the septic has been submitted to the Board of Health. Like you've heard, there are comments that need to be addressed, but they are working on it. The height issue is going to the ZBA. I believe the ZBA is meeting November 16th, the same night you are meeting. So hopefully that gets resolved at that meeting. Is the board okay with the parking? The board has to find, because this is one of these uses that's not spelled out in the parking table, this parking space is adequate to accommodate normal demand as determined by the planning board. Is the board okay with their justification for 19 parking spots?
So,
As long as all of the operating equipment is stored in the garage,
Okay,
right?
yep,
Which is what I think they
that's what they said.
presented last time, so we want to make sure that that's clear.
Right, we can put that as operating equipment, we can condition that as operating equipment stored in garage.
So there's 4 extra parking spaces, basically, is that what you're saying, depending on who's there? Let's just say 9 to 8, 8:30 to 5, 4 extra spaces.
Yeah, but not all the people are gonna be, I mean, not all the employees are gonna be there at the same time either, so.
But the employees will be in the back of the building or the side of the building. And it's the empty spaces that are in the front, one handicapped accessible for whatever public might show up.
All right, so then I can work on a condition for that. The SWIP is gonna have to be provided, like you typically condition, you wanna see it 2 weeks prior to construction, prior to submittal to the EPA. So that would be we would condition that here. The landscape plan needs a little bit more work. I think there should be a range of sizes of the evergreens in the back. 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, to kind of mimic, a forest. You're trying to blend in the edge of a forest to the existing treated area. And I think that would be preferable. Does the board want the plan stamped by a landscape architect?
Yes.
Okay, so,
And will that integrate this tree survey? Because we don't have the results of that
we
yet,
don't have that yet, right? So
but it
hopefully,
should be on the landscape, plan, right?
It would be a separate plan. We have a removals plan and then the landscape plan.
So I'm thinking more of whatever you retain should be on there.
Would the board like a plan of the trees that are proposed to remain?
I think that should be on the landscape. plan
Sure.
With the other plan.
Yeah. We can do that.
last time we talked a little bit about how is this project actually going to be built? You've provided the board specifications for dewatering and erosion control. Is the size of the sump sufficient to meet the NIPDIS permit requirements? How is construction going to be phased? The plan says, basically you're not gonna keep stuff open for more than like 3 to 5 days. I think a little discussion on that is probably pertinent tonight.
But when you say open, you mean excavations? It's gotta be more 3 to 5 days.
I'm sure you,
Building
the
foundation.
intent is disturbed area, but there's a certain limit to how much disturbed area can be open at any time.
Okay,
How long will this take?
and how much is that?
I have to go back and double check on the plan. I don't want to be imprecise on that. This is going to be probably an 18-month overall construction. Not all of that will be the most active portion, but from start of site preparation to final restoration.
Okay, let me see if I can understand this. You're going to fence in the area, obviously, put up your erosion control, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Put in the foundation. When will the big trucks and what have you that are doing all this excavating, how long is that all going to take in terms of being disruptive?
The primary earthwork and foundation activities are probably a 6 to 9 month period within that.
Wow.
Well, you gotta go down below groundwater level, right? You're digging a lot. And that sort of raises the question of what's happening with the excavated material.
Yes, where's it going?
There's a net import to this site. So we'll be bringing in more material than leaving. And so the excavation, those materials, as long as they're suitable, will be reused on site as part of the grading. But we have a net fill on this site.
Really?
Yes.
How much?
How much are you bringing the elevation up? 5, 6 feet or 8?
You do have to extend the, find the right slide here to show that.
I would expect that you would have more kind of fill.
We have a fair bit of grading on the lower part of the site. And so while we do have some deep excavations within the footprint of the building, the volume of soils needed to meet the town requirements of a 3-to-1 slope require us to taper that out quite a ways on the southern portion of the site. So
So how much is the grade coming off?
The peak.
Peak fill.
No, I don't know that off the top of my head, I'm trying to get that.
Yeah, well, I
You
mean,
did a cut and fill analysis?
we have the cut,
Yes.
cut and fill analysis was previously given to the board.
Okay.
Okay, I can resend the cut and fill analysis to you, but can you explain, like, the sequence of how this is gonna be done? I mean, because you're saying, the plan seems to describe that you only, you don't wanna open up the whole areas all at once, so how is it gonna be done then? Is it going to, is the foundation gonna be done first? You have to excavate a sump out first, I mean, for some type of, dewatering and construction controls. What about when the lagoon area is gonna be opened up? What about when the septic area is gonna be going up? Can you kind of walk us through
Sure.
how you propose to build this?
The first element of construction is obviously the establishment of erosion sediment controls before there's any other site disturbance. Usually you can clear trees but not grub the stumps before that goes in, but we try to have them as concurrent as possible. So there's nothing, no inadvertent discharge from the site. So as soon as those erosion sediment controls can go in, they go in. Silt fences followed by the temporary stormwater basins that will hold the stormwater during construction and any dewatering from the site. Those are the first elements to go in on the site before any other earthwork takes place. Then there would likely
I'm
be.
sorry, before you go, leave that. Erosion sediment control, I get that, temporary stormwater basements, and you say dewatering, but what's happening there?
Well, you're preparing for the dewatering. You're establishing the infrastructure needed to manage the water on the site before you generate the water on the site, essentially.
Right, but isn't that being done in above ground tank kind of thing, or is this something that, how is the dewatering being managed? There's be a lot of water, right?
It's being managed through the temporary storage that would be created on the site. So it's not in a frac tank on site necessarily. It's managed through the stormwater management
I thought I
infrastructure.
saw that in your spec for large water discharges, that they were above ground. Steel tanks.
There may be some that are allowed in our spec for, certain elements prior to that water then flowing down through into the conveyance of the stormwater infrastructure. That's correct.
So you're planning to create a detention basin
Yes.
and really retention. It's gonna infiltrate that
Some will.
and you have a large enough basin to handle the dewatering.
Yes.
Now, so can we see what that looks like?
Yep, that's this element on site here in the back portion of the site, which is the location of future stormwater basins as well.
Okay, but that's only for dewatering. There's no stormwater going to that.
That's all part of the same water management infrastructure during construction.
So the answer is yes,
Yes.
stormwater is going to it.
So you don't propose to dig it to the depths of the final product during construction, so that it doesn't silt up
Correct.
and ruin the final
Correct.
basin?
But we've done the analysis based on the design storm and dewatering activities at the same time. Then we have enough volume.
Correct.
Okay, was that in the stormwater report or something? Did we see that?
I don't know that we saw it. I mean, we're
Yeah.
just taking, we're taking, they're telling us how big their sump is. I would think that some of that's going to be in the SWIP.
Well, I'm just saying, if they've designed the size of the storage basin, then there should be a peak design that they've done. I just want to know if they've done that. And if so, can we have a copy of it?
Kevin, who's on the Skype, do you want to chime in on the sizing of?
Yeah, I'm here, guys. So it's right there on that slide that's up on my screen. That volume was determined by the local rule of 3,600 cubic feet per per disturbed acre, which I believe was 9.2. So to date, there's been no routing analysis to look at a concurrent rain event compared to that storage. That's not a typical request or requirement.
So you're gonna if we have an event, you're gonna discontinue all dewatering activity. You're turning the pumps off.
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, most likely that's going to be the practical.
Once you have dewatered, you don't want to rewater, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is it's not designed for both stormwater and dewatering at the same time.
We'll confirm and provide that to the board, of course.
Because I would make that a condition that last thing we want is to overflow that basin.
Certainly.
And just so the board knows that, total fill was 61,000 cubic yards. That was
61,000.
61,000.
What was the total cup?
I don't have
That's
that.
the net number.
That's the net.
That's the net, so.
I can. if
Shari
you-
can put out the
I can,
fill
if you wanna
analysis if
unshare
you
your
would-
screen, I
if you
can
would like.
share.
No, if you have it, you send it to me.
Oh, do you want me to send it to you right now?
I'm sorry. So you were continuing on the construction sequencing?
Yes, so after we've established the perimeter erosion sediment controls, we've established the temporary stormwater basins. The site, to the extent necessary, has been cleared. That's when major earthwork would begin. That would start with any regrading needed for rough grading of the access around the building to allow for the actual excavation and construction of the building foundation. So those initial excavation activities are within the building perimeter itself. Given the soils on site, we do have to have a slope or a benched excavation. That soil is proposed, I will reshare this.
You mean like tiered? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or sloped back. Share this. We did not share. There was, to the east of that temporary stormwater basin, there was a this area here is the temporary stockpile area. That's also an area of net fill on the site. That's where excavation spoils will be detained, covered, managed during construction while the remainder of the earthwork is completed. That material would then be used to shape, if suitable, used to shape the lower portion of the site and conduct any regrading. Once the foundation is in, the earthwork progresses kind of in conjunction with the building construction itself. So we get the open areas of the site buttoned up, start to get vegetation established. Once vegetation is adequately established on that, we then start taking out the temporary stormwater basins. Again, the perimeter stormwater erosion and sediment controls remain in place for the duration of construction. And the earthwork for the final stormwater basins and sand drying beds proceeds at that point in conjunction with the interior building construction.
And the spoil storage area?
Yep.
That is from the excavation of for the foundations.
Correct.
How much is that? It seems like that's gonna be a lot.
It is a fair bit. I don't have that number offhand.
Okay.
Again, it's a net fill site. So that material, as long as it's suitable, will be reused as part of the reshaping of the southern portion of the site.
So it's the final thing that you do, the septic system?
That area is fenced off, so that we don't have any traffic on top of that area during construction. We need to make sure that the underlying infiltration rate of that soil is maintained. I'd say that that's probably in parallel with other earthwork on the site that would be established. It may not be the final thing that happens, but it's certainly in a segregated area so that we don't have any compaction of those soils.
What are you gonna do to prevent the temporary basin from getting overly compacted prior to you making your final basin?
Yeah, the earthwork is really limited in that area to the extent needed to establish and then maintain that basin. The heavy site traffic is directed really between the excavation and the temporary stockpile area. So there'll be, as appropriate construction fencing and signage to keep heavy equipment away from and spoiled away from that temporary sedimentation basin, so that that area remains as undisturbed as possible while we use it for that storage. The area of the storage, the soil stockpile is an area where we don't have any stormwater infiltration in the future.
That's gonna really have to be emphasized to the contractor and on the plans, because you really don't wanna see the place getting overly compacted so that your final product doesn't work on a glacial till site.
Absolutely.
Karen, you all set?
Yeah, Karen. you
Yeah,
also-
I'm all set.
And I have no comment right now.
Anyone else have?
I don't know.
Steve?
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions. So can I go back to the future PFAS?
Yes.
Will that require any expansion on the site, or is it contained within the building that is being built there?
We are planning to treat for PFAS within the building. So the
No
existing,
expansion.
so no expansion.
And then you kind of answered where the groundwater, where the dewatering water is going.
Mhm.
Right. You talked about lights. I think I raised a question last time about the wall pack lights. Have those been addressed as well?
We have a
In terms
specification
of
for
glare
those.
to
That
the neighbors.
Yeah, those lights as well are downlight for security purposes.
And then just in terms of, I thought I heard last time, but maybe you changed it this time, the standard operations is, I thought you said it was a 2-shift operation, but it sounded like you were talking about 3-shift today, so thought last time we thought it was 2 shifts.
The currently Scituate mans a single shift at its water treatment plant. When we talked about the capacity of the plant, we've designed for a future 24-hour operation, produce 3 million gallons in that 24-hour period. So shifting a little bit between hydraulic capacity of the plant on a per day basis there.
Now, I was really more interested in, like, when will things be happening there that might affect the neighbors?
The current water demands and the capacity of this plant line up well with maintaining a single operating shift at the plant. Should there be higher than anticipated demands or other issues that might require operation, both manned and possibly in the future unmanned operation or operation of the plant is being designed with a high level of automation and controls to allow for longer periods of operation should the town wish to do that in the future.
Okay, so the single shift is like 7 to 3 kind of thing, or is it a longer shift than that?
It can be longer, depending on demand.
Okay.
I think maybe what we're looking for is how much noise is going to be come from this plant, trucks notwithstanding.
there really shouldn't be any noise coming out of the building. All of the noisiest equipment, the blowers and the pumps are all located on the eastern side of the building interior. So even within the building, we pulled those elements farther from the closest neighbors. So we're on the Route 3A side. The operators within the building have offices in the control room are adjacent to those noisiest operations. And so they've asked us as well for additional sound protection measures inside for their own sanity and comfort during operations. So, we kind of have several layers. Not only do we have the perimeter wall, we have sound mitigation within the building, and then the location of the building, bringing those noisiest elements to the other side. You really shouldn't hear anything, trucks or emergency generator notwithstanding.
So what's the design then at the walls? Like what's the noise level design?
The Route 3A will be the noisiest part of the site.
No, but still asking the same.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
Is
asking
it
for a
65
specific
dBA or?
well below that. I mean, that's
It's
the
well
level
below
of, the noisiest feature on the site is the emergency standby generator, which has a noise attenuating enclosure, which is 65 dBA at 30 feet.
Yeah, I'm more worried about constant operation, pump noise, fan noise, all of that.
Where
And you're
is,
saying that's all contained within the
It's all
building,
within the building.
and the external envelope of the building will be below 65 dBA.
Yeah, it's a CMU block building. Yes,
where's the generator going to be?
the generator is. Elements, I believe it is. This element here on the site. The other side. This one here on the pad.
That's a generator and HVAC pad.
But it's in sound enclosure.
Yes.
Yes,
Good, I had a bunch of notes from last time I just wanna go through. Did you guys address the energy use?
I'm trying to recall the exact comment on that.
We talked about trying to make this a zero carbon facility
For electricity,
for
right?
electricity.
Yeah.
So we have, as an industrial facility, we have measures on this site that are, that will help the town contribute to reducing its greenhouse gas footprint, including south-facing roofs that can be used in the future for solar collection. We do have obviously pumps, blowers, and all of the energy use that goes into producing clean water for the town. I don't think that net zero for this particular facility is achievable, but we are using heat pumps for heating in the office spaces and non-industrial spaces. We are, looking at, exceeding the energy code where possible, which is a stretch code here in Scituate for insulation, using premium efficiency motors, blowers, using the natural slope of the site with the hydraulics of our treatment to minimize the need for any repumping and energy usage in the process. So we are trying to make this as efficient for the town's ongoing operation as possible.
Okay, yeah, I think the last time I talked, you said you're using efficient motors, I assume variable speed drive,
Absolutely.
LED lighting. I think that I didn't hear that you were using heat pumps, so there's no boilers.
There's no boiler. Correct. Yeah, we have heat pumps, some on-demand electric hot water heaters.
Yeah.
We do have limited natural gas for heating in the process areas where typically we maintain a low,
So
a lower
gas
level
unit heaters.
in the process area where it's not efficient or cost effective to use other equipment.
Okay, and I think the other question was really about the energy that you still are using. Can you acquire it as renewable energy?
I think that's an energy purchasing policy question for the town. Certainly
Right, I
to
asked the
tackle.
last time, I just wondered if anybody's addressed it.
I've reached out to DEP and asked about it. If we did do something like that, we would not get credits for it. All our credits are already used. With the solar arrays, as well as wind turbine.
No, I'm just talking about buying renewable energy.
Also procurement of renewable energy.
I'm sorry,
Procurement of renewable energy. to run the
Yeah.
plant.
for the electric footprint of the plant.
Okay, I thought our last discussion was putting solar panels possibly on top.
Well, that would help too, but it's not big enough to,
Not for all.
not for as much energy as you're gonna use, right? So is that something, Kevin, you guys can look at?
I'll talk to the town administrator about it. I'm sure it's gonna be an increased
Maybe.
cost.
We created a whole renewable energy purchasing plan for the entire town, right, for all the residents. It seems like we ought to see if we can tap into that for this.
The plant, I believe, would be part of that program that's in the town.
Okay, just be good if we could confirm. No, go ahead and see any questions.
Now, Bob, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, so I'm gonna open it up to the public now. If you could just raise your hand and then state your name and your address and we'll take your questions.
British legal Scituate. I was wondering about the stormwater runoff. We can, sounds like you're building a lot of pits for the water to go into. Is there any way we can use that to reuse the water for the plantings after? Like if we keep, I'm finding it hard to imagine what these, are these closed pits or are they just? Yes,
So
Like,
are
is
you
it like a
talking about
container?
rainwater capture?
rainwater capture.
So
Like
the,
if we could use the rainwater capture to then pump, like if it's in a cistern, could we then use that to pump and water all the new plantings and have it just,
Recycled.
yes?
yeah.
Yep.
We certainly did look at that. One of the design of the permanent stormwater basins are for biofiltration, detention, and infiltration back into the groundwater. So really trying to, as much as possible, replicate what's happening on the site currently. And that water, once it infiltrates into the groundwater, eventually gets into the town's drinking water supply. The town does need to maintain some minimum flows through those surface water bodies for downstream fish health and other goals. The extent of new plantings and landscaping immediately adjacent to the building where that would be feasible to use rainwater capture for irrigation is also fairly limited. So it ends up being a significant infrastructure investment.
How
for-
far, I mean, they make 100-foot hoses.
Oh, it's not a matter of physically reaching. I mean, the landscaping around the building itself is designed to be low maintenance for the town staff and native vegetation that shouldn't require ongoing irrigation beyond the initial established.
So I guess my question is then, can we use rainwater reuse for the initial planting, so we're not wasting expensive, highly chemically treated water on organic matter?
I think that's something we'll certainly review with the town and see if it's possible to incorporate.
So something off the rain meters coming off the roof, right? I mean, that's really what you're talking about.
We do have, it is asphalt shingle roof, which does not require, supplemental treatment, as a metal roof would here in Massachusetts. And so that's part of the stormwater mitigation and capture as well, but we can certainly look into the establishment period and what can be done.
Anyone else?
Hi, Michael Gibson, 142 Old Ford Road. Give me a couple of comments, but I think it's helpful. So by way of background, I work in the securities industry, and one thing that tends to get people in a bunch of trouble is making false and misleading statements. And I don't know what the standard is for engineering consulting, but I would hope that something similar applies. So the buffer that was presented tonight for this project and the abutting neighborhood is only 30 feet, which is the absolute minimum required by town zone. However, as a stark contrast to the 50-foot buffer this applicant put forward during numerous town meetings prior to site approval last year. And I'm thankful we live in a digital age because you don't even have to take my word for it. This is all recorded by Scituate Community Television and available online. Several town meetings where this applicant made representations to the residents of Scituate, there would be a minimum 50-foot buffer. But I would like to highlight a couple instances. On July 13th, 2022, during a project update and community meeting, Rob Little, who's a representative of Water Current, stated that the site plan had been updated and there would be a minimum of 50 feet between the project and the west neighborhood, the abutting neighborhood. You can view that starting at minute 38:25 from that recording. Second, during a select board meeting, August 23rd, 2022, while presenting to the board, starting at minute 40:30 of that recorded meeting, Jim Boudreau, who's the town administrator, stated that based on input from the board and the community, that the buffer to the abutting neighbors had been increased. And later on, at minute 54:38, he stated that there would be a minimum of 50 feet of buffer for anything as it related to the site. And finally, during a special town meeting last year, September 19th, 2022, starting at minute 29:24, that recorded meeting, town administrator again stated that the buffer had been increased for the neighbor, and it may be possible to move the plant even further away, closer. Further, and I quote, if there has been one consistent directive from the board to the staff and the consultant, it is that the buffer between the neighbors and the plant should be maximized in all circumstances. End quote. That's a direct quote from Jim Boudreau. So my question, I'll be rhetorical, is this. Why does the plan presented tonight only have a 30-foot buffer for parts of the abutting neighborhood? Well, I'll tell you, they lied. It's as simple as that. Applicant before you tonight lied. They told the residents of this town that they had increased the buffer, worked with the community, all in a ruse to get site approval. As soon as that vote went through, turned around, pretended like none of it ever happened. It's quite a bait to switch, and I don't think that's acceptable. So you may hear tonight from the applicant that, well, what we really meant was that the buildings would be this. Or something like, yeah, but that was based on 50% design and things could change. But they didn't say it. And a lie by omission or omitting a material fact, which I can promise you that the buffer here is material to this project. There's just as much responsibility than outright lie. This isn't about the water treatment plant. Residents of this town voted for both the funding and the approval of the site. But it is about the statements of what this applicant told the residents of this community to get approval for this site. These were big points that they talked about how they worked with the community, why this site was approved. They kept telling us, oh, don't worry, you have plenty more time for input. Well, once this plan gets approved by this board, I don't think we'll hear from this applicant again. They certainly haven't had a single public meeting since town meeting about their design. It's just here. So based on that, really indisputable recordings, this applicant's own words, I ask that this board, the elected officials, hold this applicant responsible for the statements they made. Hold them accountable for what they told everyone. require that there's a minimum 50 feet of buffer between any site work and the abutting neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Perhaps you could show us on the grading plan, where the grading is and where the buffers are. That might help to explain where we are today.
Sure. And I appreciate the comment and the concern. Certainly, our intent is to minimize the disturbance on the site and the impact to the nearest butters, with a focus on the built infrastructure. Those permanent features on the site that are significantly different from the existing conditions on the site, the building, circulation, and the permanent features on the site. It is a correct statement that while we are maintaining a 30-foot rear setback from all construction work, that there are areas of the site within 50 feet that will be disturbed during construction for grading, and that will be revegetated. Those areas are in the southwestern corner of the site primarily. This is an area where we are closely abutting that 30-foot setback. And on the north. And on the northwestern portion of the site adjacent to where the septic construction will be. In the matter of the southern part of the site, that's certainly the most distant and has the most separation from the permanent features on the site. There's significant plantings between those residents and the main treatment facility. And on the northern part of the site, where there's less separation to the building, that's where the replanting in the disturbed area is much more intensive in order to provide that visual screen. The nature of the soils on the site, which was determined during design, did require more space for stormwater treatment, and we are seeking to maintain minimum slopes on the site for slope stability and for appearance on the site. And that results in the grading plan and the vegetation plan that we presented to the town.
I just want to follow up.
Okay.
I just want to be clear, so that's not a 50-foot buffer. It will be graded, it will be clear, you may be replanting it, but let's call a spade a spade. You are not keeping with a 50-foot buffer, which you stated in many public meetings.
I disagree with your definition of buffer. There is a setback.
That's all.
We have, there's nobody else.
We have one.
One more, okay.
Commissioner Butler, 439, Chief Justice Highway. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought at the last meeting you said that some of the trucks were gonna be stored underneath the building. Okay, so how deep are you going down? Yeah.
Our maximum cut for the foundation of the building, for the bottom slab, is actually central in the building, underneath the treatment tanks. I mean, we're about at least 12 or 14 feet below the existing grade at our deepest point to the bottom of the foundation foot. On the southern end of the site where the storage garage is, that storage garage actually meets plus or minus a foot existing grade on that part of the site. So that portion where the trucks will be stored inside is at the existing grade. So it's not below grade. It's not a below grade entrance. It's not a below ground parking garage.
Okay, so are you gonna change the pitch of the hill? I don't know. You know, but are you gonna change the pitch of the hill? When you do this, you're actually gonna change it.
Yes.
And will that change the flow of the water?
It will actually keep more of the water interior to the site than currently. Currently that whole site flows to the south towards your property. And if you don't mind my back. This is your property here. So right now you have flow that runs down the full length of the site. We have stormwater management in this area. These areas all kind of flow into themselves. And so while we are changing the grade on this part of the site, and in this area, it will be steeper than it is currently. Now, the area that drains to your property, towards your property, is much smaller than previously. And we don't have any new impervious surface that's directed towards you that doesn't go through other detention and management features. So that's kind of all engineering speak, I know. But the area draining towards your house gets smaller, although you are correct that this area of the slope does get steeper. It's just a smaller area. Can I please, I want to help make sure I answer your question.
I think you answered it, I mean, but I don't know what the test you do, but I do know that a lot of water, yeah, especially in the bad storm.
But you should have it before and after
We actually do.
from the stormwater, so can we tell her how much production is?
We can.
Volume
Yep.
and velocity, right?
Yep.
They're both less than they are today. Is that right?
They have to be by code, yes.
Well, it can't be more. They're less is what you're saying.
They are, because we're taking a lot of that water and moving it in this direction on the site, as opposed to this direction. So we're kind of using this feature on the site to pivot the stormwater towards the southwest as opposed to the southeast part of the site.
Okay, so when you pivot all that water, is that going into that area that's like 30 or 40 feet behind?
Yeah, again, we detain and infiltrate at least as much water as is being retained on the site now. So we don't have any increase in peak velocity or stormwater leaving the site, but that is moving towards this wetland and then into the pond.
Is that going through with conservation?
Over the surface of the ground, yes.
How are you gonna maintain no increase in rate and volume during construction? Because it's not, your post-construction has to be, but can't increase during construction either.
Sure. Yeah, in that sense, during construction, it's phased such that before you create new impervious surfaces, you've built out your stormwater infrastructure to manage them. So that's an excellent point.
And we won't be dewatering during big storms either.
Without other management, yes.
Somebody else.
Is there one more question over there?
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
Just
Um,
name and address.
Steve Young, 5 Old Forge Road, I'm up to the north. A couple different things, I mean, I want to reiterate, that your understanding of a buffer and our understanding of a buffer, at least the way it was portrayed, was it was going to be untouched, right? I mean, if you're just saying a buffer, what the conversations that we had, okay, with select board and all the rest was that we're gonna save every tree possible, okay? And if you're saying, hey, a buffer, we're gonna go down and take the tree down, right? It's still, and then replant the tree and that's your buffer. That's not what was said during numerous calls, which your company has been on, right? So select board all along, it was a 50-foot buffer. We're gonna save as many big trees as possible. If you're gonna cut them down and replace them, then that's not how it came across. I don't know what the planning board does or doesn't do. I mean, I don't know. The plan's the plan. I don't know. But as to the buffer, I don't even have to the north but 10 feet. You're going within the buffer of 35 feet. From what I understand, if I could just kind of step up and. The septic system here,
I'm sorry.
If the septic system here, supposedly you're going right up to the property line. Does that need a variance or anything like that?
That's incorrect, actually.
Okay, well, what is it? Because last time I asked, I didn't get a really good answer.
Can you bring up the overall site layout? Is this a touchscreen?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Can I X this out just so we can see that? Okay. So this line, okay, there's, sorry. This line right here.
Yep.
Which there's two lines, so you gotta kind of bear with me here. There's one line here that looks like a wave, okay? That's the cutting line, okay? That's what's gonna be cut. So we have to cut over to here for the cemetery. We are gonna continue along this. Your property is here. We are maintaining that and we are hitting, so we are not cutting to this line. You said to 10 feet, that's incorrect. It's more like 25 or maybe even 30. I don't know.
A corner.
This is not getting cut.
What's this right here, right?
That's
It gets
getting cut.
shorter and shorter, right? What's
Yes,
the distance between that and that?
I
Right
don't,
here.
I don't
Right here.
know.
That's what I'm saying.
That's,
It's not the same as, that, you know, if you're.
Take a look at that one.
yeah, I don't know what that corner distance is. I know we stayed on this setback. And then obviously that's the setback there, so, you know, maybe we could look at that and pull that in. But again, there's plantings going in there and other things like that, so.
So you're not maintaining even a 30-foot buffer there?
Not all the way around, no.
That was 30 feet all the way around. How far is it from the dotted line in the green to the line to the white?
So on
Even
the
where the
west,
houses are.
on the west side of the building, the design plans say it's a 30-foot rear setback. That's the west line.
And I believe this is a 15-foot setback right here.
The side yard.
To the side.
So if you introduce all that additional material you talked about, will you be able to salvage the trees?
Wait. I want that first, okay, before you ask.
Yeah, we'll certainly take a look at that corner and see if there's anything less that we can do in terms of grading there.
So what I'm trying to figure out is, right, I know you're gonna plant plants there and, you know, whatever you guys decide on plants, you know, hopefully it's fast growing arborvitae's, you know, whatever. Are you gonna cut down, you know, everything here, right? Everything, you know, are you gonna cut down within this 30-foot? Okay, so now, you know, I'm being selfish here, I understand, but, you know, I don't want as much. The only piece here that doesn't have the 35 feet, it's 10 feet or 15 feet, right? When you take a look at, you know, and you go into the woods, is anybody up there, you know, have you guys watched the property at all? No, I'm asking. So, okay, right, so you look out into the woods, you know, 15 feet, you only have one tree that might fall within the 15 feet. And then the tree grows and it's another 35 feet to the next tree. That's just how trees grow. They don't grow 10 feet apart, right? So I'm like, okay, well, that's all gonna be clear cut, right?
But that's why we asked for an evergreen screen to be just inland of the limit of clearing. And so what they're showing is an evergreen screen. I don't think you want arborvitae's, and I wouldn't recommend arborvitae's.
Whatever the planting is, I'm not worried about the
But I
planting.
mean, that's what they've proposed. They've proposed an evergreen screen on the inside of the limit of clearing.
But I'm not asking that question. Whatever the trees are that you're gonna plant, that's fine. I'm just asking why there's only a 15-foot buffer when everything else has a 35-foot buffer.
They said they'll go back and look at it.
Okay. Yeah, that's our house. And then there was one thing that, Stephen, you were asking about, you know, the stormwater retention. And, you know, I know this property well, been out there 25 years, just, you know, walking the property because, right? There's the water that comes off of that. We all hear about the 100-year flood, the this, the that. We've had a crazy amount of rain this year, right? The water that comes off that property that flows into, you know, the reservoir is crazy. It's I don't know if you've done any studies on that, but it's a crazy amount of water, especially in a very big rainstorm. I don't know how big that retention pond that you're gonna have, that it all flows in there. I just don't want to see, I'm just bringing it to your attention. I don't want to see any infiltration into, you know, our reservoir, right? That is a lot of water that comes off that property. It's a river, you know, in a big storm.
Which is why we're taking up from stormwater.
Right.
Because that's a big part of this whole
I
process.
mean, I don't
Make
know
sure
if it's
there's no
adequate.
water that comes- They're not allowed to have any more water come off that site than was before.
Right.
And that is, you know, that's what we're, part of the things we're discussing.
I'm just telling you my version. It's a lot of water.
Well, it's supposed to be designed for the 100-year storm, okay? So, and we have peer reviewers who review it and say, okay, designed it for that capacity. The question I was asking was,
What is the capacity?
what is it?
How much?
And the problem here during construction is that they're going below the groundwater level when they dig the foundations. So they're gonna have to pump an awful lot of water out of there on a continuous basis in order to build the foundations.
Along with whatever happens during that time period, right?
That was my point, is that if we get a big storm, then they should cease dewatering, right? Because I don't think they've designed the retention basin to handle both of those, but they're gonna answer that question. Right, but I think the design of the detention basin is designed to handle a 100-year storm and detain the water, and it will infiltrate. It's supposed to infiltrate into the ground and ultimately end up in the reservoir.
In the reservoir, yeah, sure.
All right, do we, sorry, Tom.
I think, and to some of the public comments, I think the cemetery access notwithstanding, a 50-foot cut line or 50 feet from the end of the property, having a cut line. Now, in the northern portion by the septic tank, I think this is something like
I know.
this is like 45, but having a cut line, maintaining a minimum of 50 feet, it shouldn't be an issue more towards the south. But
Well,
maintaining
so,
that-
I mean, it's 30 feet down at the bottom of the hill where I am, so that's the point, they're not maintaining the 50-foot cut. That's.
Down
whatever
here?
y'all- Nope. That
By
back
the
property.
basin.
Oh, on the
Right-
west
right
side.
in- Nice,
No, by the
close,
basin, right,
right there.
Okay,
right there.
right here. Okay, southwest side, yeah. Yeah, so that cut line's at 30 feet. Could you still maintain this basin with a 50-foot, adding 20 feet? east of the cut line?
I don't think we can maintain that without creating steep slopes in that area.
Which would then exacerbate water.
Yes.
So,
And erosion protection.
So you couldn't resize the basin, make it not quite as long, but a little wider.
Well, the other constraint that we have there obviously is the wetland and the wetland buffer and staying as far from those features. There are wetlands on the site that are central in the site that we can't avoid. We are proposing some mitigation to connect and provide better wetland habitat within the wetlands that remain. We are doing our best to stay outside of those site features. So if we were to get closer to that wetland, yes, we could.
Is that the yellow line? Is that the-
Yes, the light green.
The light green.
Did you say that the slopes on the stormwater basin, they're 4-1 on the outside because it's the Water Resource Protection District? What about on the inside of the basin?
They're 3-1.
They're 3-1 on the inside. So you don't want to go steeper than that because otherwise you can't maintain it.
Okay, is there anybody on Zoom that wants to say anything?
If there's anyone on Zoom at this time that you'd like to ask a question, you can raise your hand. As we're in the public comment period. I don't think so.
so you guys are gonna take under advisement that piece and see what can be done.
Yes.
To try to make it better, okay? I mean, this is a difficult site. This is a very difficult site. And not everyone's gonna be pleased, unfortunately.
There's one more question.
Catherine Bowman, 72 Old Forge Road. I just was wondering, how has the plan changed since it was a 50-foot butter to a 30-foot butter? How have you changed the plan?
The The things that changed from that time, I'm gonna put in two categories. We actually made the building smaller since that initial time. We were able to further consolidate the activities on the site to reduce the built footprint on the site. Also, during the second category is the site investigations that are necessary for us to design and sign off on the design. During the initial phases of the project, we had publicly available information from prior development proposals on the site that had a higher infiltration rate than we found when we went out on site and did our own investigations. And so that by necessity required the stormwater footprint to get bigger. We can put less water in the ground in a certain area. We have to get a little bit bigger with the stormwater. So those are the two key changes that happened on the site since those initial plans. One of them, reducing the building footprint, reducing the impervious area. And the other, unfortunately, was that when we went out and did our own testing, that we are certified. We had slower infiltration rates in the soils than prior engineers have found.
We've got to go. We've
No,
got
wait, no, we
enough-
should
Yeah, go ahead.
continue the meeting,
Yes,
okay?
dear, go ahead.
Question, so just so I understand, the 35-foot buffer, that means what you're saying is there's no cut within that, right?
So the 30-foot setback is a zoning designation for where you can or can't put a building. And so we are well outside of it. In a normal development application, that setback you can disturb, you just can't put a building in that setback. We are certainly well outside of all of those setbacks for our building, which is what that 30-foot setback requires. We're further not disturbing
Okay, so
that setback.
can you show a diagram? I think people would like to know, right? Because that's why we're all here. Can you show via say, that slide at some point, showing what's gonna be cut and what's gonna stay via your little the little trees, you put little trees around, not where you're gonna put plantings, but what big trees that are gonna stay, right? So, because we're all here for that reason, right? We're not debating about the building or the ponds and all that other stuff. We're worried about what trees stay, and what trees get cut, or what could get.
Yeah, that comment was also made by one of the board members, and on the next iteration of the landscape plan, we will show the existing trees to remain. Those are surveyed where they are 12 inches and above, so there are some smaller undergrowth that isn't surveyed, but we will have that in the landscape plan.
Okay, yes.
And that will show the no disturb though.
Correct.
Yeah, it's the cut line, I think is what he's talking about.
There is that limit of work line.
Yeah, the limit of work, yeah. So this with the half circles that go around that, anything outside of that, there's no. Yeah, no chainsaws, no.
Assuming the trees will live through the shell, I'm not supposed to tell.
Yeah, anything outside of that zone with the half circles around it, that there's not gonna be any vegetation taken down, any fill put in. That's the limit of work line, so that's the proposal.
Yeah. Another question?
Sorry, Tricia Butler, 439 Chief Justice Whitney Highway. When I look at the buffer area on the three sides, the side at the bottom where I am looks like minuscule compared to 30 feet on the side. Am I looking at the wrong line?
The bold dashed line that you're seeing here, where you're seeing it being very close to your property, this is a zoning side yard setback. So this line means we can't put a building in that area. Our limit of work is here. For your
So
property.
that's the line
Yes,
there?
yes.
Yeah, it's a couple hundred.
Well, here,
Yeah.
So it's like a few hundred feet
In the
from your
landscape
property.
plan. In the landscape plan, it's sure that's clear.
Yes.
No disturb zone, basically.
No,
So you're not gonna, anything in between that yellow line there?
we'll have some temporary work in this area for wetland connectivity, but our grading line, our earthwork line is here,
So nothing's gonna happen in between that and my property?
with the exception of this little pocket, yes.
What are those little white things in there? Do you know them?
Uh,
No, farther up?
Those are just, those are notes.
Yeah, this says
They're just tags.
Okay.
words. Sand drying beds, gravel access around. Of course.
Just have one, Dave McCormick, 21 Stearns Road. I saw when you had the light stanchions, it seems like there's tons of light stanchions around this building. And I appreciate you brought up the fact about the noise. The building's so high and you mentioned downlights. Are these lights gonna be illuminated 24/7? You know, during, you know, I don't understand why, you need to light up, I don't understand, you know, why you need 20-foot high. It's not a parking lot where people are going to the supermarket. I would think that, you know, somebody made the statement that they wanted to make the building look more countrified. It got very high. It's a very high building. I don't know why it got so high. But I don't think we need to light it up at this level to, it's not a showpiece. It should,
Security. Bottom line, security.
well, then couldn't they be on, you know, motion sensors or things that would turn them on? So, okay.
Are they on motion sensors now? Is that your proposal?
They would be on a timer, but the town could determine the hours of light operation for that. But they're not supposed to be motion sensors.
Like 50% to 100% or
So-
25 to 100%.
So I guess my follow-up question to that would be then, security, is there security in the building? Is there, you know, and so if somebody goes and accesses or tries to break into the building, it's alarmed, I'm assuming, so then it would be lit and the town would be able to react to that. So I don't know if it really needs to be lit at the level that we're showing here. Considering also somebody brought up energy usage, I think that that's something you can factor into it.
We obviously do have to consider, I understand your comment, and I think we'll certainly work with DPW to determine if there's any modifications to the lighting that can be made. We do have to consider the critical usage nature of this facility.
Safety.
Obviously, we get dark early in the winter, you know, the snow removal, town staff need 24-hour access to the building, so there are.
Yeah,
times
maybe
when-
some override type of feature where people are, you know, yeah.
All right, so
One more question. And I'm not sure if this is answerable. I'm just wondering, is it still within budget?
Yes.
yes. Okay. All set? I move to accept the applicant's request to continue the public hearing for site plan administrative review and stormwater permit for the Stearns Meadow water treatment plant at 453 Chief Justice Fishing Highway until November 16, 2023 at 7 p.m. and to continue the time for action for filing the town clerk until December 22nd, 2023.
All right, so people should check the planning board website, check the agenda next time. I believe the meeting is gonna be at the library next time.
What's the date on that?
November 16th.
November 16th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time, thank you.
Yeah. I want to make a motion to take a final break.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sally, we're taking a 5-minute break.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
We're back.
You gotta reconvene. Call the meeting back.
Okay, calling the meeting back to order. Second,
Okay,
those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have a Form A and R plan for 747 Country Way. This is map lot 12-3-9 and county B, applicant owner is Gregory Fund. We have, here we go.
Sure. Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, Gregory Rowan. This is an approval not required plan that we submitted. The property is located at 747 Country Way. This is an existing home on the property. It's located in the R2 zoning district. The proposal here is to cut the property into two lots, lot A and B, shown on the plan. They both comply with upland area requirements. They both comply with frontage requirements on Country Way being a public road. Each lot has 60 feet of frontage. Each lot has more than 2 times the minimum land area required in the district. This went to the zoning board of appeals and was issued unanimous approval. A special permit was issued. I forwarded a copy of that to the town planner today.
What does the special permit say?
Special permit allows the creation of lots that have 50 feet of frontage minimum. Our lots have 60 feet of frontage.
It says that the lot A has to keep its same existing access. It gets access from down the street. And so it
Is that
cannot
the
use,
third driveway you're talking about?
it cannot use there's an existing right of way. It cannot use the frontage on the lot A for its access.
Oh, okay.
It has to come up from,
The existing way that they get
The existing
access now.
15-foot way.
unless they want to put in a common driveway. I suppose they could do that.
Wait, lot B has to use the.
No, lot A.
Lot A gets to come in from over here.
Lot A has a pretty well-established existing right-of-way that comes in down the street. So they're gonna continue using that as their sole means of access to Lot A. Lot B will ultimately have a new driveway serving just Lot B when that lot goes to be developed.
Any questions from the board?
Is there a stone wall or anything in front of it? It's the same.
There's a stone wall in front of it. I mean, so technically, there's not really access at this time. However, I spoke with town council about this and he opines that you should endorse the plan.
Because we lose.
Probably lose in court. Because it's very easily removable.
Okay.
What do you mean it's easily removed? Required a special permit.
Yes.
No, not to take down the stone wall on a scenic road. It just, the stone wall, it's flat on the sidewalk side, and it's flat on the back side. The stone wall could be removed so you would have access.
Isn't it required scenic road?
Well, Mr. Morse and I are discussing whether it needs a scenic road or not. When he provides me a clear plan, then I'll be able to make a determination.
If I may, I took a couple photos of the stone wall. The stone wall is 100% on the applicant's property. Doesn't straddle the property line, nor is it inside of the right of way. This will require a scenic road permit when a driveway goes in, but no stone wall or no trees whatsoever will be required to be removed within the scenic road layout. There have been 3 previous surveys, not performed by my office, but the original county layout in 1888, a map DOT layout in 1940, and then a survey of my client's property in 1953, all depicting that very stone wall, all depicting it on the private property. It's not an impediment for access onto the site. As you can see, it's not a retaining wall, it's a couple of boulders, it's a stacked wall.
I'm not concerned whether it's a retaining wall. It's whether it's part of the scenic road requirements.
So he'll have to provide me the documentation. You cannot tell from the A&R whether it's the stone wall is on the property. It's, they're one and the same on the A&R, but I recommend you endorse them.
Steve, you have another question?
I'm just trying to sort this thing out. So what is the town, right, is that shown on this drawing? The town, right,
Yes,
is that the 35 feet, or does it go beyond?
there's actually a piece of land between the town right of way and the applicant's deeded property that the applicant has rights over in front of it. It was discontinued when the layout was discontinued by the county commissioners. So the current layout for Country Way is 35 feet wide at this location.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, what I'm looking at is the limits of the town ownership right away.
Correct.
Okay, and then where is the stone wall?
Just inside the applicant's property, it's 6 inches to a foot onto the applicant's property.
That's not 6 inches to a foot.
He'll have to provide that proof when we talk about a scenic road. But for the purposes of the Form A, it's not, you know, I do recommend you endorse the Form A.
I move to endorse as approval of the subdivision control law not required. A plan of land in Scituate, Massachusetts, 747 and 0 Country Way, assessors parcels 12-3-9 and 12-3-9B, Scituate, Mass. By Jason Scott, professional land surveyor, of Morse Engineering Company, dated June 30, 2023, for applicant owner Gregory Crowe, as the division of land is not a subdivision because every lot shown on the plan has frontage of at least the distance presently required by the Scituate zoning bylaw on the public way of Country Way, with the relief provided by the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, second, is there a second?
Second.
So can we make a modification to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a draft motion.
Right, so. Can I see my? So we don't really say anything about access in this motion. Right?
No, we don't really say,
So
we say, I mean,
so I think it should also say that there is reported access that does not include the private stone wall. Right?
With all due respect, I'm not sure we can do that.
Why not? It's our motion.
yeah, I'm not sure you really wanna do that, I mean.
I-
I
Well,
think-
then, all right, then I'll just vote. I just vote against it.
I mean, I talked to town council and I said there's no vital access at this point in time because there is a stone wall. Okay, and you have to have access and frontage in order to endorse a Form A. And he opined we would probably lose in court if we did not endorse. Because vital access is very easily, somebody could go out there tomorrow and just knock down the stone wall.
Yeah, but that's only if the stone wall is their stone wall. And what we're saying is we don't have that depicted on the drawing.
No, that's.
They could knock it down if it was in scenic road.
But they could just easily go through a scenic road hearing,
Well, they could do that now.
but I mean, that's why,
I mean, they went through the appeals, the zoning board of appeals to get the frontage.
right,
If they want the access, they can do that now too. I guess all I'm saying is, you know,
But I guess what he's saying is that it's owned by the applicant, so he doesn't have to do it, correct?
That's correct. I can walk from the road onto the applicant's property right now without going over a stone wall. The documentation of the surveys that have been done by 3 other land surveyors prior to my company working on the property, I'm gonna submit those for evidence. They're all documented right there. Stone wall's on the private property. Access is not impeded.
okay, is that on here?
The stone wall is shown on the plan. It's shown right at the front lot line. You know, those lot lines, as we depict them on that plan where it's a bold line, the line is approximately 3 feet thick, just how the ink prints on the paper. So you see it overlapping with the stone wall. You know, we're talking 6 inches to a foot of the face of the wall being onto the property. I put in red the property line there in those photographs that I submitted. There's boundary markings at either end of the line. If you're physically on site, you would see those. And again, the previous surveys are all documenting it as well.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about the photograph. I'm looking at it. Looking, so it's in for approval.
It is on there. It's just that the line itself, being a stone wall, it's a very light gray, kind of oval shaped line. It's right under or right behind the old black line that is the front property line. The thickness of the ink that prints out on these, that front property line is approximately 3 feet thick on the line. So it's overlapping with that stone wall. That stone wall is on the private
I
property.
can't see. You guys see that?
No, you can't see it on that plan, Steve. I mean, the only way to see it on that plan is to enlarge it with grade to grade. These are the plans that Mr. Morphus gave me. And I guess it shows the stone wall on the private property.
Orientation. Where is that?
Yeah, so here's country names.
Okay,
See,
yeah, no, I see that. Just where do you see the stone wall? I don't see it. Oh, you drew the name, I see.
because that's the border, the stone wall is the border.
I've been watching it do all kinds of stuff there also.
No, we're probably need a stormwater permit.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
definitely.
he's cut trees down already on a large part of it.
And he's left a lot of silt on Country Way.
He has left a lot of silt on Country Way.
All right, I'll take your word for it that it's on this drawing. I can't see it, but I have got eyes too.
So are we leaving the motion as is?
Yes, leaving the motion as is.
Yeah.
Anyone want to second that?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good night.
Don't forget to turn the clocks back and forth.
How many times to look at it?
All right, so next, old business, new business, update on the MBTA communities.
All right, well, we don't have really any new information tonight. We're having a meeting with our consultant this week. But the bottom line is we're gonna be able to go 50 units per acre by right for GWB, GDC, NRN, and we'll keep the North Scituate Outer Village at 15 units per acre. We do have, our meeting this week, she should be identifying the zoning changes that we have to make. And we know we have to put in that we're gonna take out commercial parking for by right developments in the VCN, NDTV, and North Scituate Village Center. We're gonna have to drop the affordable housing requirement down to 10% for by right developments. In the VCN. But otherwise, we meet the requirements for the mixed use district. We are working on the forms for that and hope to be able to submit that in the next month so that, you know, we will know before town, we have to submit it at least up, you can't submit it less than 90 days before town meeting. But we're working on that right now. So we have 2 meetings with our consultant this month. So hopefully, we will be good on that.
All right, then we have approved minutes.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from October 12th, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we have
Passing.
accounting. Yes. I move to approve requisition of $13,167.05 to Chris Horn for return of stormwater bond and unexpended peer review funds for the project at 46 to 48 Holland Street for $124.80 to Gatehouse Media for 28 Torrey's Lane legal ad, for $194.70 to Gatehouse Media for 19 Ford Place legal ad, for $18 to Schwab Inc. for nameplate by Patrick. Kumar.
Second.
All those approved?
Aye.
Liaison reports.
I went to housing, the Housing Partnership Trust. And I think Sherry will agree, not much happened. But I went.
I went to a meeting this past Monday night of the bike committee. They're still up and running, but they've got some issues going, trying to find spots for bike racks in town. Mainly the transportation planner on some bike route related, looking for more marking from the roads, going from the train stations to the beaches, that kind of thing. They may speak with DPW, there may be some planning work in conjunction with that, and I volunteered to continue to work with them in that capacity, and sit in on those meetings as needed.
Anybody else?
Are you gonna, do you want to remain as EDC?
Yeah, I can do that. I can call in on Monday nights, but if they want somebody in person, I actually
No,
can't.
I
do in
mean, I
person.
don't know whether they do Zoom or not.
They do a hybrid.
Then, you know, just please call in. She kind of sent an email complaining that nobody comes for meetings and, you know, yeah, I think they're more interested in what we're doing than anything. And I did say, you know, we're, you know, YouTube, Scituate Community TV, meeting minutes, you know, it's all posted, so,
Possible.
yeah,
Do it. They
okay.
can call in, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for.
Great planning and development.
All right, I've got a number of issues. I sent along a wireless communication bylaw.
Yes,
Has anybody looked at it?
I tried.
I really need some comments.
You gave us a deadline.
Second.
Am I wrong?
I gave it to you early November, because I'm trying to set up an internal meeting. And I'm gonna do it in early November. I also gave you 61 New Driftway Cup, draft decision. So I'm looking for comments, I think I said by Halloween or something, Monday. So if we can look at that. I thought of an interesting solution to our commercial building last time, you know, for 18 Drew. And I thought perhaps maybe a flex space fabrication building. So maybe people before the next meeting wanna check the definition of that. Flex space fabrication building. Seems like it might fit. The only thing that maybe you could waive, it's supposed to be on a public road. But maybe you can think about that.
Except for the night.
18.
Is the board willing to change its philosophy of applicant? Right now, you've said that you wanted applicants meeting with the DRC to come and you have the first public hearing first. Is there any willingness to change the philosophy into after they submitted but prefer the first public hearing? Letting me schedule a DRC meeting?
I don't see why not, whatever works
I'm okay with
for you.
I mean, well, you've changed, it's a change of
that.
philosophy.
Well, the question about it is, once it gets submitted, is the conversation high level enough with us to say, we like what we see, we think there are major changes you have to do here. If we're gonna do that kind of conversation, then I would say it doesn't make sense to go design review committee. If what they're submitting is like fully, in their view, fully baked. Right, they're not looking for input from the planning board. Right, which is what some people do.
Which
They
is
come
what
in-
some people do, you're right,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
I mean, I think our preference is particularly, well, I'll tell you my preference for that. Any significant development, I would rather have somebody come in here and talk to us about their approach and the plan, and they could have a layout, and we would have a chance to sort of provide input to what they've done. And it might avoid sort of in the future, and things like, well, this building is too big for this site, kind of thing, right? I think those are the kind of sort of directives, or not directives, but input we would want to give before it goes to design review. Because once it gets to design review, now they're tweaking things,
Right,
right?
they're tweaking things.
So that's just my
But
general
I
thought.
mean, this design review committee tells them if they think it's too big too. I mean, so you think maybe we could try it on a project or not try it on a project?
I'm fine with you trying it on a project if you think it's a good.
All right, I don't have a project right now to try it on because, I mean, we sent 817, we got new plans, they're going to design review this week. And the cottage court is supposedly going to design review this week as well too. But I don't have any other new plans yet to go to design review. You weren't happy enough, and I'm not sure 18 Drew has to go, but so we haven't even crossed that bridge yet. All right, I just thought I'd bring it up.
Well, if you have one suggestion, if you have one you think fit that bill. just give me a
Let
call.
you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anybody interested in going to sustainable South Shore meetings?
No.
It's about, they talk about clean energy. And trying to get everybody on, all the towns in the South Shore to do clean energy.
And how often is that?
It's about energy. It's at least once a quarter, and their annual meeting happens to be Monday night.
Oh, it's once a quarter.
It's about once a quarter that they meet.
But they need somebody like you.
Yes.
Monday night.
I mean,
I might be interested in attending one or two, I don't know if I can attend one.
okay, well, I can send you the link. I'll just send you the link.
Yeah, send it to me and if I could, maybe that's the one to attend, it's Monday night, but
Okay,
I just don't know if I can do that.
all right, so do you want the good news or the bad news on the subsidized housing inventory? The bad news?
Yeah.
We don't get a housing production plan certification.
Why?
Because the state claims that we didn't submit Herringbrook Meadow and Stockbridge Landing in the years that they were first eligible.
Oh, come on.
So Herringbrook Meadow units initially became eligible in 2010, as modified in 2018. Stockbridge Landing became eligible upon the comprehensive permit issuance in 2019. So we did not submit for them in those years. Well, actually, they did submit for Herringbrook Meadow in 2018. We're looking for the letter, but I know they were denied. So that's the bad news. The good news is all the units we put up and requested, the units are on our subsidized housing inventory. So now we're up to 6.15%. So great.
So Herringbrook Meadow, the one on 3A, that's sanctuary,
Yeah,
that was built under a 40B, but
Right.
they're not gonna give us credit for
no,
this.
we just don't get the housing plan certification. They're on the subsidized housing inventory. So with Stockbridge Landing now, we're getting credit. So Herringbrook Meadow, we're getting credit for 60 units. Stockbridge Landing, 17 units. The Drew Company, 12 units, and the cottages at Old Oak and Bucket, 6. So that was a total, I believe, of 90 units. So that takes us to 6.15%. a housing production plan certification means you produce so many in a year and you can get a stay on 40Bs. So we don't qualify.
What about Rachel's Way?
That's already on there.
Okay, but the problem with the sanctuary and the problem with Stockbridge, it was in court forever, both of them.
Well, I understand that, but I mean,
There was appeal after appeal after appeal.
they say we don't need it. We're looking for our 2018 letter to try to figure out why it was turned down in 2018. But it was turned down because the subsidized housing inventory has Herringbrook Meadow 0.
So that was a mistake.
Now it has Herringbrook Meadow 60. So we have all the units that we can at the moment are subsidized housing.
How come we can't take all the units at the one on Old Oaken Bucket Road?
Because it's a 40B, only 25% have to be
But I
affordable.
thought Herringbrook was.
Herringbrook is rental.
Ah. Gotcha. Difference.
That's the difference. So that's, I mean, Shari and I worked pretty hard to get that done. Shari did a lot of work on that and we, you know,
Break ground at Herringbrook until like 2021. Oh,
So it's just,
That's bizarre.
so, but there, all the units that we can get on here are on there right now. We've got one outstanding unit. That it's not ready yet, but it's a local action unit at 1460 Old Country Way. State hasn't approved it yet, so once that gets approved, we can ask for that to be put on.
Did they approve? 50 Country Way wasn't a 40B, wasn't
No, it's local action units, that got on way back
it?
when.
That one.
You can't, on local action units, they need to have the occupancy permits and everything, to get on the, subsidized. Because it's a different form than a 40B. The 40Bs can come on and off the subsidized housing.
can't they go back on? I mean, so
well,
we get
it's
that.
under production.
I mean,
they're back on there for purposes of the housing production, they can't get that.
Because they're
only produced once.
right.
Yeah.
But like say, the cottages would all open bucket. It was approved this year, so therefore it's on, but if they don't get their building permit within a certain length of time, then if they don't get their occupancy permit in a certain length of time, they'll probably come off.
But they can get back on now.
Yeah, they can get back on.
There's a lot of work here. The bureaucracy is beyond comprehension.
Yes. But we're up to 6.15. That's better than 4.15.
We need to get to 10,
Yeah,
right?
we need to get to 10, but, you know, there were some things in the works, you know. You've got some projects that are approved with, you know, local action units and that kind of stuff, so, you know, we're trying to work away at it. We really are.
Anything further on 7 Driftway, or is that still crickets?
Crickets.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No rotary.
the rotary.
They haven't returned my emails.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know,
And what about the Dover amendment there?
don't know.
Crickets.
They have a septic system plan into the Board of Health and they were met with conservation the other night. So,
807 Country Road.
809,
809, excuse me.
Yeah.
More Scituate.
yeah,
More Situate, yeah.
nothing has come into us.
Can I ask you a question about the wireless things now?
Yeah,
This looks like a complete sort of rewrite.
It is.
So where did it come from?
New York.
that attorney Andrew Campanelli,
This is,
Yeah, this is down.
there are some inconsistencies in there with Massachusetts right now. I mean, I will tell you that it says that the building commissioner the application gets submitted to the building commissioner, who approves that the application is complete prior to it going to the planning board. Well, that's not how we operate. So that absolutely has to change. There's one place that says the town clerk approves the money. No, the town clerk doesn't approve the money. The town accountant approves the money. There's a couple other minor, other things that, a butter notification doesn't jive with chapter 48, section 9 and 11.
So you flag all that in here?
I didn't flag it to you guys, but I'm gonna flag it when.
You have it flagged in here.
I have it flagged in my mind and,
Might catch some, I might catch all of that kind of stuff.
I mean, the town wants wireless communication ability. I mean, that's the bottom line. But it seems like we needed standards for small cell attachments. And so this is, the town hasn't paid any money for this. It's been privately funded. But what what the author wants is, he wants us to have a Zoom meeting with all town officials and, cut it up in that. But I want to have a meeting with town appropriate people beforehand, before we go into a Zoom meeting. So I don't know when that.
And what would you say? Sorry, just trying to frame this in my head while I read it. What would you say the primary objectives for this, the way this is written? Do you think this is written in a way that's preventing small wireless?
Yes,
That's kind of the underlying intent here.
yes. I think you ought to look at the dimensions for the buffer, for the distance between a residence and where a small cell could go. I mean, I think he identifies it as 300 feet, which is impossible for Scituate. So, if you read it, I'm gonna try to set up a meeting the first 2 weeks in November. I can have 2 people from the planning board. I sent it out to police, fire, IT, TA, board of, select board. So I'll be asking all those people to a meeting and, to hash it out. I mean, ideally, the planning board has not decided whether to sponsor this article or not. If the planning board doesn't sponsor this article, I see it coming in as a citizen petition. So just saying, just laying.
Yeah.
It's a lot of verbiage in there in a short amount of time, when we have a much. I'm not saying that this isn't important, but we know we have to comply with MBTA, the Section 3 Act. We have to comply with that, and we have to have that on town meeting. And so we know that we're gonna have our workshop in December, and we're gonna have our public hearings in January for zoning.
Yes,
I'm all set.
we all set. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.